Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
And I'm Jessica.
Today we are coming to talk to you about a brand new movie that came out recently, Unplanned.
Yes, like all other Catholic YouTubers, we saw the film so that we can now talk about the film on YouTube.
You know, I have to be honest. I know it was my idea to go see it, but at the same time, prior to arriving, I wasn't really sure why I was going. It's not like I didn't already agree with the ideology. And I really had the feeling it was going to be just another overly schmarmy Christian movie.
Yes.
But I was I was at least, pleased with what I got. I mean, it wasn't that very tropish Christian movie.
No, I had seen some reviews beforehand because, you know me.
Yeah.
People will be like, I will go and pay for you to see this film. And I'll be like, no thanks.
Yeah.
And
we say that only because we've watched some of those films. And
we did have one film in which we were offered free movie tickets. And we're like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But the reviews did point out that although it is clearly a Christian film, it is a lot better than a lot of the Christian films.
Yes. First point, one which I had actually seen in a review prior to going to see the film, and I have to agree with, at least for the most part with regards to recurring characters, is that there was actual character development. You know, typically you go to the Christian movie and everybody is a one or two-dimensional stereotypical individual.
Yes, and for a lot of the characters that we are not rooting for, they had personalities. They weren't just pure evil. I mean,
yes.
The one person was like, they're like, let's just go and make something completely evil and put it in a suit dress.
Yes.
But for most of the characters, they talked about their life. You kind of got to like them for the most part.
If that was a person in your life, you probably would have, you probably wouldn't have been looking at them going, why is this my life?
Yes.
Her boss, why is this my life? But you knew that she was going to be evil from like the moment you first saw her.
Yeah.
She had that snakish look.
Yes, they really went and said, you know what? We're making characters that have depth and personalities in life.
Except for this one.
We're going to just throw everything in that one. And I don't know how much, this person was a complete and total jerk in real life. How much it was, because it's based on a real story.
Yeah.
You see things from a certain point of view. Or how much it was they did so many things you don't usually do in a Christian film. They had to have the bad person just be pure evil.
Yes. Now, this movie has had some commentary brought upon it due to the fact that it has an R rating. I have to say, I kind of agree with that rating. I mean, for the most part, it was just blood and gore, which wouldn't necessarily get it an R rating, except for when it's connected with the circumstances which it came from.
Yes. Yes, the number of people who are religious, who are like, it shouldn't be R, I think they're doing them a disservice, because by pointing out that this is worthy of R is pointing out exactly how bad what happens in this video is.
Yes. Yes, it's one thing when it's just random blood and gore, but when it's... Yeah, I don't really know how to talk about that in a family-friendly way for the purpose of our show.
I'm pretty sure everyone who's watching this knows what the film is about.
Yeah, it's about abortion. So, when it's attached to the destruction of a human fetus, it suddenly becomes a lot more realistic.
Yes. But although it was very good for a Christian film and has earned my highest regards of Christian films I would rewatch this film.
I would definitely rewatch this film.
There are a few points in which it's like, you've done so many stuff, you got to put in things in there that are just pure Christian film. Like, there's a voiceover that...
They never tie back to the narrator. It really was just kind of disconnected. I mean, don't get me wrong, it did its job of moving the plot along.
But it would be better if the story moved the plot along and not a voiceover. Or if they did a voiceover and at the end, the actual person who the movie is based on was the one talking.
One of those,
I would give him points for that.
One of those things where where essentially they're giving an interview
Yeah.
And you're simply
watching it.
seeing the circumstances of the interview play out. And then you get to the end, and there they are, seated in an armchair across from another person who's just sort of taking notes as they go through. That would have really tied together the whole narration thing.
Or because it's from her book, if she was like reading her book to some group.
Oh, sure.
But that didn't happen, so it kind of
It just never really paid itself off. It did its job, but it just kind of, it was narration for narration's sake.
Yes. Also, they did the point of they inserted church and church type stuff in there way more than I would assume in the actual, life story was there.
Well, it may have been there, but yes, it
was a little heavy-handed.
It was. When she was sitting in church and feeling really uncomfortable because they were doing a whole sermon, on, the creation and development of life kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was it wasn't bad. It was just a little heavy-handed. But I have to say, on the whole, I think that this movie was a good movie. I think that it would not only be good, I mean, most Christian films I've seen are only really good for people who are already believing, because they kind of strain the story generally kind of strains the what's the phrase, that certain inertia level, if you will. And as a general rule, these stories in most Christian films that I've seen were so heavy-handed that unless you were already convinced of the story wasn't going to...
It wasn't going to appeal.
It wasn't going to enable you to suspend disbelief.
Yes. Or the other type of Christian story is, of course, the one where they're just doing a Bible story.
Yes. Whereas in this particular case, I really kind of felt like I got to know the main character through this story. I was able to connect with them, and I think that as much as this movie might be enjoyable for somebody like myself who's already agreeing with the ideology and believing in the basic beliefs behind that ideology, that at the same time, somebody who does not necessarily agree could go to this movie and get something out of it. Yes,
well, the reason why I agreed to go and watch this, because, usually I hate all Christian films for being, a disservice to Christianity in film.
She worked in a Christian bookstore and occasionally got sent home with movies, and
that was before the era of really bad ones, because it was largely just about we're
gonna make up weird sci-fi or adventure plots that just are so Bible.
Yeah, but the first review I read of it was off the personal Facebook page of Craig of Does Craig Know About This Show?
That'd be Craig Pohl from the Catholic Armchair, or from the Armchair Catholic.
And the person who wrote it was not a pro-life person.
No, in fact, I read that review as well, and that was actually done by a person who is in fact professed pro-choice, who also said a lot of the same things that we did. That while it may not have been her favorite movie in the world, they did a relatively good job of it for being what it was.
Yes. Which at least means that, someone who might not completely agree with it, or someone who might be one of those people who are like, I'm personally opposed to this, but, we shouldn't make laws preventing people, could watch it without being, instantly angered at, the heavy-handed treatment, and then you could have a discussion with them about, what they found interesting, what they still disagree with.
Yes,
it could open up doors for conversation.
Yes, while there was an actual bad guy character in it, most of the people that would have been a Christian movie bad guy character were actually just real people.
Yeah.
Like we said, they were the people that you could see being people that are in your regular day-to-day life. Mm-hmm. They could be your coworkers or the people that you occasionally run into at the grocery store, kind of a thing.
Yes. The majority of the people that she was hanging out with that were her coworkers at the clinic were the type of people where if they're like, hey, you want to go get, pizza and hang out? Yeah, probably.
Sure. So anyways, I think that's our review. I'd say probably not 2 thumbs up, but definitely 1.
Yeah.
1 thumb up for the movie out of 2. So I mean, it's it's a pretty good rating. If you haven't already seen it, we certainly recommend you go check it out. Because why not? I mean, it was a nice evening out at the movies for us. So
we will warn you that if you are squeamish around blood or gore, or if the themes are going to be a bother for you, this doesn't ease into it.
No, it's
the turning point is like the opening and then flashback to how I got here.
Yeah, it's so if you're one of those people that gets a little lightheaded at the sight of a nosebleed, you definitely want to just go ahead and take a pass. But yeah, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it, and like you said, I would watch it again. Anything else?
I think that's all the main things I wanted to say about the film. I mean, overall, fairly decent film. As a Christian film, much better than most of the other things I've seen out.
Yeah. So until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
And share that love.
Yes, the lynching unicorn is off kilter. She's a unicorn, so that's cool, but that looks better. I made the dinosaur climbing up.
I see that. All right.